Okay, y'all, welcome to What the Body.
Welcome to What the Body.
We are set up today a little different. If you are noticing and you've been with us for season 1, we are now season 2. This is our first episode in season 2. We are in different spaces now, and we are on a different platform. Still the same normal podcast that you see, but if you watch us on YouTube, you know that we're different. So welcome, and we are so excited to have Everett today. Jess, kick us off.
Yeah, Everett Uhl. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a no bullshit approach. So I was like, yes, please come on the podcast.
Absolutely.
She's getting her cert for nutritional psychology, examining how we eat and how gut health directly impacts psychological, behavioral, and cognitive processes and functions. So much more than that, but that is her background. So Everett, I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself. Obviously we know you some, and so excited for you to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a licensed therapist. I'm also trained in EMDR. It's like very trendy on therapy TikTok these days. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So just add that in there because so much of the work within that is involving your body. And so I like to say I'm a therapist all about the mind-body connection. And I think sometimes that's a little bit lacking in the field. We tend to really separate body and mind. Therapists focus on the mind and doctors focus on the body, and they are never, ever, ever interconnected when they fully are constantly intersecting with one another and impacting one another all the time.
Absolutely.
We just have created a system where they're really separate. So, I'll just add that I care about that too.
I love that.
I was in graduate school, and the reason why I wanted to come on this podcast was kind of to share my experience working with folks who are in larger bodies, who were working with doctors, and seemed like not really getting the care that they should have been getting. And what my role was as their therapist in helping them kind of build out, oh, no, you actually need body neutrality. You actually need body acceptance. You actually need to feel compassion for your body rather than all of these distressing thoughts of my body is bad. My body is betraying me. That's not health. That's distress. So your BMI reflecting what health is, even if your BMI is going down, but you're telling me all these distressing thoughts, that's not health to me. So how can I help you in a way that I feel proud of the work that I'm doing with you without like further pushing this other agenda of like BMI is this total indication of health. So,
what was the moment for you when you were doing that, right? You're new to it, you go into it, and you know all these things that you've been taught, right? You need to lose weight. You need to lower your BMI. You need to eat this. Like if you just lose weight, right? What is the moment in all of that you were like, actually, that's bullshit, and this is hurting them, not helping them?
So it was probably like 2 months in, and I was on the phone with someone and really listening to the process of what a gastric bypass was. I don't want to cause controversy. If you are happy with your gastric bypass or your bariatric surgery, great. If it worked for you, awesome. I happened to be working with a population where they had it and then it didn't really work. And just the description of the process, like my body was in distress hearing it. And I got like major ick factor. Like, I do not like this. I do not like saying that I support this. This feels weird and wrong, and like you're being told your body is wrong and bad and we're going to fix it. And then the fix is actually causing you way more distress. Like you can't digest food properly for basically the rest of your life. Like, what?
It's a forced eating disorder for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And then you can have 2 bites and you're full. Like what? So just hearing like the aftermath of what a gastric sleeve or gastric bypass can be for some people. Some people couldn't drink water after it. Like just stories like that where I was like, this is wrong and I don't like this and I feel weird supporting this industry.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
then I went to one of my professors because I was in school. I was like, do you have someone I can talk to about this? Because again, like I was kind of clueless to what bariatric surgery looked like.
Yeah.
And for your listeners, like you have to go on a puree diet for a month beforehand. Yes, there is a mental health evaluation, but some doctors, you know, there's questionable practices in that. And then you're on a puree diet afterwards. And basically your entire digestive system is shut down. And you are sometimes, you're in gastrointestinal distress for an extended period of time. So I went to one of my professors and I said, do you have someone I can talk to about this? This just sounds like wrong and like we're hurting ourselves. And I talked to someone and they were fully like, no, this is a good thing because the person could not lose the weight any other way except this way. And so I like sought out a separate opinion, and it was still wasn't really the opinion that felt right to me. So then that shift, basically, I was like, okay, now we're just focused on self-compassion and like how can we have a positive relationship with our body. And it really like totally changed what I thought I would do as a therapist, frankly.
Wow. Yeah, that's distressing just even hearing about.
Yeah.
I'm somebody
sorry.
Don't be. Because I think
that's reality.
It's the reality of the world that we live in, that your fat body is so bad that you have to go through that in order to be accepted by the world. Yeah. And I think it's just absolute bullshit that we subject even a dog to that. I wouldn't subject an animal to that. You're having to puree your food and you're limiting everything. And I mean, I have heard some stories of, you know, like I personally have had stomach issues my entire life. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't force that on anybody. And that's the same symptoms that you have when you get a fucking sleeve. Like I have spent thousands of dollars to try and correct that. I cannot imagine wishing that on somebody or wishing that upon myself in order to live in a smaller body. Yeah. I just can't. I mean, it is astronomical to me that people look at that and they go, no, they're better off because they live in a smaller body. Mm-hmm. What the fuck does that have to, honestly, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I don't know. Yeah. It's just so crazy. It's so crazy. I'm glad that you're on. I'm glad that you're here.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish, I don't know, like it's just my own anecdotal evidence and experience. Like there isn't a success story to point to post-gastric bypass or gastric sleeve. And not to get all conspiracy theory too, but like insurance covers it. It's like a $25,000 surgery that insurance will cover based on your BMI. So there are, you know, presentations.
But they will not allow a woman to get pregnant and go through fucking a birth if she is too heavy. They won't put her on a fucking normal knee surgery because they don't want to put her under anesthesia because she's too heavy. But they'll go in and put a gastric bypass sleeve on somebody who is in the same body. Make it fucking make sense.
Yeah. I didn't know any of that.
Oh yeah. No, they literally will not do a routine knee surgery on you because you have chronic knee pain because you're too fat and you need to lose weight before you do that. But they'll put you under and put a sleeve on your fucking stomach.
Yeah.
Tell me, make it make sense. Yeah. Doctors. Like I'm 100% with you on this. I get really passionate about it because it's like, you can literally look at somebody and be like, you know, I'm sure that you probably have issues with whatever. And they'll look at you and be like, sorry, you're too fat. You got an earache. You're too fat. You got to lose weight before we can treat that. It's like, what? But they'll put you under for a gastric bypass sleeve.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
A lot of people I was working with, the goal and why they were interested in the weight loss program in the first place was so they could have knee surgery because their doctor said you have to lose X amount of weight before we'll
they're having fertility issues or they're whatever it is, like you have to lose weight to get pregnant. I've had a lot of people who've gotten sleeves because of that. You know,
I hadn't heard of that. It doesn't surprise me, sadly, but that's really sad to say. You have to lose weight if you want to get pregnant. That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So what kind of shifted you then into getting, you know, let me get it right. your your certificate for nutritional psychology. I
Yeah.
love this. Talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think, and I would love for people to correct me, but again, in my graduate program, I would say, hey, like, I want to talk about food and the role food plays in our lives and specifically in our coping skills, right?
Mm.
I personally think that food is the number one coping skill that we all have. And mental health practitioners do a really shit job of assessing for that. So, why do I say that? Because in every single romantic comedy, we got, the girl gets dumped. And what does she find? Her two new boyfriends, Ben and Jerry. And she's going to eat to make her sad feelings go away. And then what happens when we get a promotion at work? We're going to go out to dinner and we're going to drink champagne and we're going to celebrate. So like food is and should be, because it has for thousands of years been like this huge part of our culture and a huge part of our emotional states and a way we connect with people and, a lot of things. Food plays a huge role, but I felt like food was not being accurately assessed for in the mental health space and not treated as a coping skill, which I think it should be. And then two, we weren't really ever assessing for like body image. Like, hey, do you like your body? Like, what do you think about your body? Do you appreciate it? Do you not? And marriage and family therapy specifically is like a systems approach. So you're seeing people within the system they exist in rather than just as an individual. And I was asking my professors, like, hey, this is my system, right? My body is a system. Is it in distress or is it in harmony? If my thoughts are constantly going against my body, I think that's distress. So like, how are we assessing for relationship to food and relationship to body? And nobody could really give me an answer. So I kind of tried to seek this out. In order to get an answer. And I think there's like more research coming out now of like your stomach and your gut is basically like your second brain. Or so much of our anxiety like lives in our gut, right? I have butterflies in my stomach. Well, why do I? Or, it's just like gut instinct. Why do these phrases exist if there's not something more going on there? And so, the certificate is more for myself to discover it and then share that with clients. And then luckily, I think there's enough like on the internet, Instagram, TikTok about like body image. And so I can share those resources with clients or I can help them kind of explore that. And then kind of secondary to your question, I also work with a lot of like women either trying to conceive, currently pregnant, or just had a baby. And that comes with a whole lot of body stuff because our body just changed. Our body just created a human. I feel differently about my body than I did before this happened. So that was also sort of what is it continuing to inspire it now.
I also think the thing that we don't talk about a whole lot as a society is that like our gut health specifically, yes, is considered a second brain. It also is the birthplace of our happiness.
Yeah.
And when we think about kids specifically who live in, let's say, food deserts, for example, who are not getting the nutritional value that they do and how it impacts their mental health, both in the classroom as well as at home or on a sports field or whatever the heck it is, the initial thought is never, what is the food that's going into their body and how can we help them adjust that in order to rectify the situation that they're in? Let alone the fact that, it obviously impacts your external body as well, but your entire gut biome is what helps fluctuate your mood. So when we're hungry, we're going to be grumpier, right? Because our gut biome is off. And so I always wonder if we could fix the food problem, would we fix the other problems that go along with it that are essentially like one of the major factors, but falls so far down in the category of things people worry about. So it's like, it's such a double pronged thing for me, especially as I learn more and more about my gut. Cause like I said, I've had gut issues literally since I was 15. I had my thyroid removed. It really fucked everything up. And I went into the doctor on multiple occasions. I had a colonoscopy and an endoscopy in 2019 because I thought I had cancer, because I could not keep anything in my stomach. I would be in the middle of a meal and have to get up and go to the bathroom. I was carrying extra clothes around because I couldn't make it to the bathroom. The doctor literally looked at me and was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing came back. Literally, you need to lose weight, was what he told me. And then B, are you seeing somebody to talk about your mental health? We think that has a big impact on it. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. I mean, the same thing for me at 25. I got an endoscopy and a colonoscopy because I even swallowed the small pill for my small intestines they take thousands of pictures of your small intestines as it goes through your body. Because I was having to go to the hospital. I was in so much pain. And, they did all that testing and they were like, we don't see anything wrong. We're going to diagnose you with IBS. And then this was a good doctor. And he did say, like, a lot of women have IBS, quote unquote, because this is how their stress shows up in their body. And I think this was the time this was right after, like, I had realized I did have bad anxiety, but it would never show up as like an anxiety attack. It would always show up as like excruciating pain in my stomach. I had to go to the bathroom a lot. I was in a lot of pain, which makes you very tired. Any stomach pain, you're exhausted, right? And so I know my body. I was learning my body, but I was like, wow, okay, my anxiety shows up in the form of stomach issues. And then it manifests itself, throughout my body other ways. And so it helped me to realize that, but no doctor's really going to tell you that or they're going to give you medicine or something to help your belly. But ultimately it's the stress or the anxiety or whatever it is that is causing your body to just wreak havoc.
Well,
and your body is like, listen to me. I'm going to listen to me. You're having anxiety. Why? And what are you going to do about it?
My therapist, the therapist I was seeing for a while, she specialized in like nervous system, regulating your nervous system and your like regulatory system essentially. And she was saying that if you are in extended states of fight or flight for multiple years at a time, it manifests the same way that IBS does. And a lot of the same symptoms that people with IBS have, people who, I don't remember what study she pulled, but it was a study about victims of 9/11 and how their body stayed in a constant state of fight or flight for years on end. And how the same symptoms that people with IBS have, they also had. And it was fascinating because she went through the symptoms and I had them all. And we found out that I'd been in an extended state of fight or flight for a good majority of my life. And it made a lot of sense because obviously when you're in fight or flight, you can never regulate. You're always, a dinosaur is always chasing you, right? Even if it's like you dropped your backpack, oh my God, the world's ending and like the dinosaur is going to get me, right? So it's just like this weird dichotomy that nobody really talks about. And I wish more people did. So I'm very glad that you're in this space because I think it's really important to have both the knowledge of how food impacts you, but also how obviously the world and your mental health impacts you as well.
And like our body system and our body, just like I'm relating to both of you as you're talking. I too have had an endoscopy. And I too was told by the doctors, we don't know what's wrong with you, right? And I've been on a trip where I was just covered in hives because I should not have been on a trip with that person, right? And so we don't listen to our bodies, and then our bodies force us to listen to them. And so it's interesting. And like fight or flight and this permanent state just makes our response and our ability to respond so different than if we are out of that. And your whole system is just in distress. And I'm sure you were exhausted all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because
so like, tired.
All the time.
Ready to like go.
So how
like you would get home and just your hand would be like, I don't know what's going on. Like everything's shaky and you're like, nothing sounds good to eat. And it was a mess.
So how has this changed the way that you work with clients in that it must alter what questions you're asking them, because it's your job to direct them into a place of finding out what is wrong and how to heal whatever it is that they're there for. Right. So how has this impacted the way that you approach newer clients?
So I always ask them like, what do you think about your body? Right. And then I'll kind of test them out with like a body scan in the first or second session. And I've had some people be like, this is too woo woo. I don't like this. So I'll back off, because to say I really like the mind body connection is different than like come to therapy and we're just gonna like sit for 10 minutes and you're gonna like tell me what you feel in your body. So for some people, they can't tolerate that and they're like, no, I don't like that. We're gonna talk. So that's fine. You can do that. Okay. But for other people, so that looks like body scans. I'm a family therapist, so that looks like what was your mom's relationship with her body and what was your mom's relationship like with food. We know from research on eating disorders that the way mom behaves and talks about bodies and food is, not to blame everything on our mothers, but is basically a huge determining factor in what our relationship with our bodies and our relationship with food is going to be like. So assessing for that ability to just like sit and tolerate our body. Breathing, what does breath mean to you? How do you breathe? What do you notice when you're breathing? That kind of thing. So it sometimes when I'm doing it with people, it feels very like rudimentary. And even I sometimes get self-conscious. I'm like, I know you're paying me and like I know I have a master's degree, but we are just going to talk about like inhale and exhale right now. So I'm like, just trust me on this. Just trust me on this. And then like what I mentioned with EMDR, so much of it is like, what body sensations do you feel? So I also always ask about that. Is it in our head? Is it in our throat? Is it in our stomach? Is it in our chest? And normally with practice with me, people get better at that. And then kind of like separate to that, if you think about the chakras, where are they? Right. Yeah. Not that I'm bringing chakra into the room quite yet with clients, but, it's a funny coincidence that normally the sensations of our body that indicate distress are on those chakra points, actually.
Well, I would say two things. One, breathing is not weird when you're trying to center your brain to get your thoughts right. Because even just with me, right? Like sometimes starting a podcast, Caitlin's like, hey, bro, you need to calm down. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm excited, but I am. All right. And so it's like, oof, how do you ground yourself back down? And I don't mean like take off your shoes and go outside. I mean, just like get your stress level from up here. You should feel like your chakra is grounded, right? Like, so I think, yes, we all believe in that stuff here, but I truly think also that like your chakras and where they are and what they represent is not an accident or a coincidence, right? I think it's very intentional, very purposeful. And I think a lot of the people that I meet that I can tell stay up here, right? Because she says, come back down because I want to come back down. She knows I want to come back down, right? Like we both do that to each other. Yes. But it's like those people that stay up here, we know them. We've dated them. Yeah. We've met them. We've been friends with them, right? And they stay up here. They don't even know what it's like to be down here. And they're uncomfortable around us when we go down there, right? You know what I mean by that? Like when our energy, when we want to ground it and we want to get out of this flutter bug up here. And I think that's when I know, again, I'm saying this from my own experience. I know that me and that person probably cannot either date or be friends because I cannot live in that space and I can be very influenced to come to that space. Right.
Yes.
I very much agree with that. I think there's a place for this with, marriage and family therapy and learning about, nutrition and how it psychologically affects us in relation to breathing, chakras. Like, I feel like there is a symbiotic relationship to all of this that every single person in the universe doesn't necessarily have to be open to. But if I read that on your website, because sorry, I'm monopolizing the conversation, but one, how hard is it to find a fucking therapist?
Fucking hard.
It's the worst thing in the world to have to do is be like, I want to talk about something and I'm going to go find a therapist. You can find any therapist in 5 seconds. Like, how do you figure out the one for you, right? If I were to go, first of all, when I did go to your website, and I'm not sure if it's still there, and it said no bullshit approach, I was like, I immediately wanted to book a session with you. I was like, you know what? I'm here for the no bullshit approach. But if it was like, hey, I have these certs, right? And I got these degrees and I want you to come in here and get grounded and breathe through this. And like, let's figure out what's really going on. in your science way of saying it, that is the absolute therapist I would call.
Absolutely.
100,000%. Right?
Yeah.
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 I also think it's, we talk about therapy a lot because we love therapy.
Yeah.
We think everyone should go to therapy. Especially because we don't go to
Everyone.
therapy for not just ourselves, but for all the people around us who also don't go to therapy. So like, that's why we're in therapy, bitch. Okay. But
You're doing the work, so they don't have to.
There you go. It's okay. Look, somebody's got to drive the boat. Sometimes it's got to be you. But we see a lady named Nancy, and we love our Nancy. Nancy is thebomb.com, but Nancy is very much an energy worker, healer.
Oh, cool.
What would you call Nancy? Energy?
I would call her a medium. Yeah.
She's a medium energy healer, but we talk a lot about how energy impacts the things and where it affects your body, right? So like, if I'm having, if we're dissecting something and going back into my past and I have issues with my throat, like let's say, for example, I start coughing or I get that weird indigestion kind of like bubbly thing. And she goes, where do you feel it in your body? And you say your throat. It not just corresponds with possibly not being able to say the things or support yourself in a way that is verbalized, right? Or defend yourself or state your piece or whatever. But your chakra is also very related to that, right? So like if you feel it in your heart or your chest or your head, those are very, very intertwined. And it's very much an energy that we're all, whether you know it or not, we're all subjected to until somebody tells you like, it feels that way in your head because of this reason. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. It hurts in my throat because of this reason. You weren't able to say your piece or whatever it was. Right. So it's like, it's fascinating once you start to unpack all of that because it's all so interrelated. It's not just what you eat. It's not just the breathing that you do. It's not just your chakra. Like it is all one in the same.
Yeah.
I think that's super important.
And I think sometimes for people like feelings, you know, feelings are great. Feelings are words that humans made up to express something, right? And actually it is just the body sensation, right? So to sort of like and feelings are another way of like logicifying or justifying or rationalizing something. And if you can actually just pinpoint like, no, but where in your body? Okay, got it. Like that is clearer and sometimes a lot easier, sometimes a lot harder, but sometimes a lot easier for people to do than to have to articulate to their spouse, like, I'm mad at you, I'm frustrated with you because of X, Y, and Z, versus just like, hey, when we talk about this subject, I get a pit in my stomach. Like that usually much more clearly conveys to the other person what's happening rather than like, I have all these feelings about it, right?
Wow.
Well, cool. I'm glad you guys do energy stuff too. I started like this year and it's just been like the most wonderful like framework for me in like a whole other way to really like Jess, what you were talking about with like the people up here. And I'm like, why don't I click with this person? Like I really want to like them. Like, what is it? And it's like, oh, because I'm like way down here.
Yeah.
I can't meet you yet. And then, you know, when a client comes in, I'm kind of like trying to match their energy or bring down their energy. And like, that's a much easier concept for me to understand what I'm trying to do for the person than, like, tell me about your week or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's just take
that's the worst. You get a new therapist. Tell me about your week. It's like, oh, tell me about your week.
I have to fucking unpack it.
What 45 happened? Minutes and I need to give you 45 years. So can we get after it?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. No, I definitely feel you on that. So, as somebody who does what you do long term, do you think, because I want to ask you about kind of like the body liberation movement. I have my own thoughts on it and kind of where it's going, but do you think it's having a positive impact in our younger generations seeing the acceptance or the general step towards the right direction of acceptance of larger bodies? Do you work kind of in that space at all? Like, have you seen any impact or any correlation with that at all?
I want to tell you what you want to hear. And
no, I want the real answer.
Yeah.
I see it Like I see it on social media for sure. We see it in television shows. Like we see it in, again, like systems thinking, micro system versus macro system. We see it in the macro system. There is a lot more representation, which is awesome. I think about like when I was in the early 2000s, I was watching Girls Next Door on E. I was watching Rock of Love on VH1, sneaking, of course, but like the pressure, like the evolution that has happened just from the 2000s to now is like incredible.
Yeah.
That we aren't all just trying to like be bleach blondes with fake boobs, you know, like if you want to do that, great. Right. But like, I'm very happy to see the representation. And for the clients that I'm working with, there is still a lot of pressure. And especially for high school girls, unfortunately, there still is like social media on one hand is exposing everybody to great, like here is this voice, here's this platform, whatever, but it also is like hyper fixating on appearance. So the person that like wouldn't have, I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16. Like I had pressure from watching TV, but it wasn't like watching my peers taking like mirror selfies and, you know, this and that. So yeah, I'm thinking of a few where the pressure and like body image and disordered eating is still very much like cool.
Well, and I think, yes, there's representation, but as Caitlin and I always say, you get to curate your feed. So if you're liking things that are goals in your mind for what pretty looks like, right? And then you come across some sort of body neutrality, body liberation, right? Body empowerment stuff, and you like that too. Now you kind of got this double feed that's opposing each other because that person is obviously in turmoil about do I hate my body or do I love my body? Like, right. And so you never know what someone's feed is. I find such joy in my feed. And when people are like, oh, social media is awful, I'm like, actually, I learn a bunch of recipes. I feel good about myself. I laugh a lot and I see dogs. Like my feed is great. You know, like I'm sorry if you've, I mean, I'm having a great time over here on social media. Like,
I also think that, you hit on something about how the way a girl thinks about her body is directly correlated to how her mother thinks about her body, or the way she thinks about food, or putting morality around, you know, what you're putting in your body or the size of your body even. And I wonder if the next generation after us is going to be different because we were raised differently, right? Like my mom, I love my mom to death, but my mom is tiny. My mom's been tiny my whole life. I outgrew her, I think, by the 9th grade. Like I didn't fit into her clothes. I was a woman size 9 shoe in the 3rd grade. Like I was a big girl, right? And both my dad and her, she was a fitness instructor. She taught jazzercise for years. She was a PE teacher. My dad was a runner. Like we were into sports, but I didn't look anything like my family, right? And so when I had an eating disorder, I still have, obviously you never really don't have an eating disorder. You're in recovery, right? When I was in the throes of my eating disorder in high school and I got down to a size 4, I felt like I finally fit. I felt validated, my body, maybe for the first time in my whole life. And I felt like I had a space that wasn't othered. And it's hard because the words that they used for me were not bad. They never once degraded my body. They never once pinpointed it. But there would be things like hidden food. They'd hide sweets from me and they would pack certain foods and, you know, little nuances that I don't think they did anything wrong. I think they did the best they can. And I don't want to have children, but I think if I did, I would have all of those experiences and I would do the opposite of, right? So I just wonder if it is a slow process and the next generation after this is going to be better off than even this recent generation. You know what I mean?
I definitely believe
like
that.
I think you have to have the tools. I hope so. But you know, you've got to have the right tools. I mean, we didn't have the best, you know, guidance, if you will, but we sought out the tools we know we didn't have. Right?
Yeah.
It's really important. And some people don't know they don't have those tools.
Because they don't
And
have
so
self-awareness.
I think
you guys had enough self-awareness to say, oh, I want to do something.
I don't even know how that happened. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but there's a deep psychology somewhere about self-awareness, because it's like, I don't know, strength too. It's like, because it's real easy to just go sit in the gutter and use drugs and live that life, right? But it's real hard to like keep your shit together and keep growing and learning.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Well, I think a lot of us are just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
I know I was. That's why I was.
And
like,
we know that's not the end all be all.
There's got to be a better situation than this. There's got to be a space that I can create where people don't have to hate their body to fit in.
Yeah. And to your point, Caitlin, about like body liberation, and what is happening. And I think there is some polarization when people come out and say, yeah, this is my body. Great. I have no shame and I'm not changing anything about it. This is me. There is that like kickback because hold on, if I've been restricting and counting calories and like doing all of these things and hating myself, and you all of a sudden are loving yourself, then like it's almost like that's not fair.
Like, yeah.
Hey. The audacity. How dare you feel good when we all are taught to feel so shitty? Like who gave you the fucking right?
Yeah. This has come up several times actually. Even when we were met with Alicia McCarville, she was saying this. It's a journey. Like when you start out saying, I'm going to love my body and I'm going to accept it the way it is, you don't just overnight start following a million people who love their body, because you resent, right, the feelings that you want that you don't have, that you see. Yeah. So it's a constant curation.
Yeah. But I think that's why like health at every size speaks to me, because it's like, well, sorry, in my experience, it didn't matter what size I was still being given the message like, your body is wrong. Your body, you could have bigger boobs, a bigger butt, a smaller waist, a longer leg. Like it didn't matter how small or how whatever size I was. Like I was still being given the same message. So then at some point you have to question, well, actually, if I'm going to be given this message, no matter what I do, then I might as well just say, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm no longer going to receive this message. Thank you very much, girl. Bye.
Yeah. That's interesting. So so looking forward, right? Like it feels like your journey has been like, okay, you learned, school, you chose your profession, you graduated into having the profession, you learned a lot more, right? So you're pivoting a little, right? This is life. We're all doing this all the time. But so now you're kind of going into this different sort of segue of, understanding nutrition and gut and stuff. And so where do you see this going for you? I mean, you never really know, but if you just thinking about the future, like what does this mean next, and who will you be helping, and how do you gauge what that looks like?
Yeah. I've been dealing with this a lot. Now I'll pick your brains about business and growth. So, September will be like the 1-year anniversary of my private practice. And I kind of knew going in, therapy is a service. It's scaled by humans. So you're going to scale very slowly. And I'm going to see 20 to 25 people a week, an hour of my time in this structure. And that's kind of as big as the impact and scale is going to be in terms of one-on-one interaction. So I would like, even though there are so many like things within the therapy field that are like, no, don't do that. Right. So one thing is with nutrition, right? No, stay in your scope of practice. You're not a nutritionist or a dietitian. Don't talk about food in the therapy room. And it's like, well, I'm a therapist. I'm just supposed to help you understand your relationship with literally anything. So I think I have every right to help you understand your relationship with food. I'm not prescribing food for you to eat. I'm just helping you understand it, right? So there's kind of that. And then separate to that, there is, a therapist has a master's degree, has a board exam to sit through, has a regulatory body to attain a license. We can lose a license. A coach does not have those things. So coach is sort of a dirty word in the therapy community, but I think I don't know what it would be, not coaching, because I don't even like coach, but I think just like helping to show people, almost like a body slash food consultant, and help people to understand what their relationship is like with that. That's where I want to go. I want to scale as much as possible. I don't know how I feel about group. That's normally like the next step for therapists, as from individual to group. But usually there's always like the one person in the group who talks too much. So I think it'd have to be
Oh my God.
a very curated group.
Every
Yeah,
time.
you got.
Yeah, there's always the one.
I don't care if you're going on a yoga retreat or a trip. It's like, oh, that's the one. There they are.
Without fail. So I don't know if it's more
Yep.
curated group. And then I have this workbook. So I'm trying to figure out if I want it to be like we do consulting and workbook together. It's like a structured 15 session thing, or if I just sell the workbook, what do I do? And how to scale. So ideally, what I really want to be doing is just helping people connect their minds and their bodies. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I think most of us are super severed from our bodies, and the world we live in only further helps to enable that. I mean, you think about metaverse and like what Mark Zuckerberg is creating. He wants you to just put on goggles and fully, like in therapy, we call that disassociating. And that's actually not something that we want you to be doing. Like we want you to be connected and present and grounded within your body and always feeling these things instead of like seeking out that disconnection. So, I mean, my goal really is to just like help as many people as possible either reestablish, rebuild, or just straight up build. Because when you're a kid, if that gets severed, it stays severed for a long time. To connect that mind body connection again and encourage any and all ways to do that.
I think if your biggest barrier to entering into this scope is finding out if someone, thinks breathing and grounding isn't woo-woo, right? That's what it's like. Okay, we're gonna try this out. Can you breathe? And then like waiting and like seeing, are they cool with that? Like instead of sort of having those barriers, I wonder, and I don't know what this looks like, but ideating is like, is your network just like the gynecology network, right? That group, that's such an amazing, powerful group. Don't ever leave that group. What if you had a different group that was like, other therapists in this space, mediums like Nancy and like yoga instructors who, there is a group of people who don't do therapy, who also are immersed with hundreds of thousands of people in this space who really want to do this, but also want, like for me, that was me for a long time. Like, this is me and I'd like a therapist, but it's too much work to find one that gives a shit about like how my body and mind are connecting, that I'm not interested in doing. So I didn't do therapy for 15 years because I was like, absolutely not. It's a waste of time and money, right? I don't want to sit here and tell someone new my story so that they like don't get me at all. And by the fifth session, we realize this isn't a good experience. And so, it's almost like you're building that same network that you have with the local doctors, but it's like, it's eliminating that barrier of like, is this person open for that? And then of course, word of mouth will get other people in, but like, there's got to be a community of people. And if there's not that group, you need to start that group.
Yeah. But making it clear from the jump, this is what you're in for.
I am a therapist that wants to connect mind and body. Yeah. Let's get a mind body therapeutic group going. There's yoga instructors. There's yoga retreat people. I'm making this up because I don't know what all the options got to be. There's tons of options, but there's the Nancy's. There's like all these people, and you guys are networking each other, right? But it's like you can help each other with a client base as well.
Yeah.
I also kind of wonder, starting like an online education platform. I think for you would be really helpful. Something like, I just started a Kajabi. I don't know how to say it, but it's like a place where you can do video content, ebooks, all the things. It's basically an educational platform. But I think a lot of people, don't know that our mental health is intrinsically tied to our gut health, which is tied to what we eat. And I also feel like the barrier to entry is sort of like the mythical door in the fucking cupboard that you don't know is there. Yeah. Until you open it and move the sweater and you're like, I think that's a door I'm supposed to walk through.
Yep.
It's a little scary. I don't really know how to unlock it.
Yeah.
but I know I should be going through that, like a start to finish, step 1, step 2, step 3 process of this is how you get from point A to point B. I think would be really, really successful for you.
And a subscription, a paid subscription.
That's
like
what
there's
I'm
a
talking
lot
about.
of options here. And you're, and then you promote it on, like I bullied her into getting
I know.
TikTok.
I have a TikTok only because of Jess.
I was like, this is the number one place to market for free, and everyone in the entire world is on here. You need to just go on it. You don't have to dance, just go on it, because there's other things that, but so, and then you market, right? You grow your platform and you market that way. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of funny things and a lot of cool things on there, but like it's a free place to market. It's free, absolutely free. And yeah,
I just don't think enough people know to even look for it.
Or again, they were like us. They either had a shitty therapist or therapist they didn't like, or a therapist because that's what you should have, but you're not really doing anything. I don't know how many people I tell you that I become close with and they say, I'm in therapy. And I'm like, that's great. I get to know them a little bit more. And I'm like, I have a Nancy. And I explain to them what that is. And they're like, oh shit. And I'm like, it's like 6 months of therapy in one session if you're interested. Yeah. And they're like, I pay $150 for 2 hours of therapy a week. And I'm like, I promise this will help you differently. And but they don't know what they don't know. And if they had a therapist that had that ability to mind body connect and that openness to do that, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that I can guarantee would love to have that outlier of a therapist.
Okay. And then what name? Oh wait, sorry, keep going, Caitlin.
No, go ahead.
What name, like, is mind body connection enough of is that like a known thing that people would respond to?
I think of yoga when you say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, I mean, you could say mind body therapy, right? That's not yoga to me. That lets me know, oh, you be knowing about the stuff that I be doing. It's like, you like the hippie woo woo stuff too. It's like, that's an insight, I think, to people who are open to that, like mind, body, breath there. I don't know.
Mind, body, gut. Mind, body, gut therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Mind, body.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Because we're still going to do talk therapy, but I'm going to involve things that most people don't. Okay. Mind, body,
this is gut. Great. Do you know anybody that does this, Caitlin? I don't.
Not the therapy piece, but I know several people who do gut and hormone health, specifically in how it's tied to female mental well-being and PCOS and cognitive function and all sorts of stuff. I was on a podcast with Get Clitorate. What is her name? I'm having a hard time remembering her name.
Oh, I know her, but I don't know her name.
She's fantastic. I absolutely love her social media, but she is like a no holds bar gut health hormone specialist. And she talks very, very intimately about how it affects our mental well-being as well.
Yeah.
And I think she's just wonderful. And she does it in like a really tongue-in-cheek, super sex positive way. And I just fucking love it. I love her stuff. But she's not a therapist, I don't believe. I don't think she's a certified therapist. So there's a whole other level there that you could talk on.
Because
that nobody
it's like,
else can.
It's connecting all those things, right, Caitlin? It's like, you have your gut doctor, right? You have your therapist. This is the therapist you want, because it's like all of the things that we're all working on. Like we need an expert in each one that dabbles a little bit in the rest,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's valuable to me. And to have everybody that's like a what are the words
like
I need?
One-stop shop.
Yeah, like a community
Mm-hmm.
of individual experts that are all aligned and handshakes and like all of the things that we really know exist together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's actually also the goal, is to have one-stop shop, literally a center where you like see your therapist, you can see a nutritionist, you can see your OB or GYN, you can go to yoga, you can get a massage. I don't know what it would be.
Get a
like
boudoir
a woman's
shoot,
wellness
you can do all the things.
Yeah. I talk about that. There are a few other like therapists and dietitians who want to do that too, but it's just a matter of how could that actually happen? But I think it's so lacking sometimes for us.
I think it's expanding your network outside of the science universe, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're going to be outside of the science universe, right? Because that's your job. Right. So you stay in the science universe, but you're getting your referrals and you're networking with those who are in these other areas. That's your focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also think,
I don't know.
there's a lot of, what is the right word I'm looking for? Fat people our whole lives have been told that the food that is going into our bodies is the reason that we're fat. And we've been told that it's a direct correlation to how our body looks, when in reality, if you look at what I eat and you look at what Jess eats in a day, it is not a whole lot different. Sometimes mine is much cleaner, right? Sometimes hers is much cleaner, but it pretty much evens out. Same thing with my mom. My mom is very small. We eat virtually the same amount and the same quantity and the same food type. I am a size 18-20. I weigh probably over 300 pounds, and I cannot lose weight to save my life, right? I work out literally 5 days a week. I'm walking 3+ miles almost every day, right? It is not necessarily about what is in my body, what is going into my body.
Yeah, no.
That has a direct correlation with my exterior. What it does have a direct correlation with is my mental health and my gut health, which are intrinsically tied. And I think if you were to be able to debunk that for somebody and say, it is not the food that's going in your body that is making you othered.
Yeah.
It is what is affecting your mental health, and I can help you there. Because of that, you're going to feel more at home in your body. That is your gold. Right?
Okay.
Because it's hard when you hear, you know, I'm a therapist who works with body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and I'm also somebody who works with like nutritionists, right? Like my brain immediately goes, you're going to tell me to eat less, eat different things. You're going to tell me I'm wrong for what I put in my body. You're going to shame me for all these things, right? And I go, I don't want it. If you can figure out how to do that in a way that makes people feel inclusive rather than othered, you've cracked the code.
Okay.
Like you've got a missing link that no one's ever told them before, because it's not the same bullshit about you, what you're putting in your body and your size. We're going to talk about your brain. We're going to talk about your tummy. We're going to talk about microbiomes, and we're going to talk about confidence. And we're going to get to food later, bro. We're not even talking about that to start.
We're going to talk about fucking like fermented food and making your own sourdough. And we're going to talk about prebiotics and probiotics. And we're going to talk about the nutrients that you need.
Cake you ate.
It doesn't fucking matter, right? Like, do you have an overgrowth of candida yeast in your fucking gut? If you do, you have X, Y, and Z problems, right? It is not the quantity of food or even the quality of food that you're putting in your body. Do you have insensitivities? Are there things that you should and shouldn't be eating? Do you have a thyroid that immediately affects how your body reacts to different foods, right? These are all really important things that we need to be talking about. But because we've been othered our entire lives by doctors who don't want to hear us about, I feel this kind of way, and they nullify it by saying, if you just ate less and you worked out more, you would feel different. And I go, fuck you. I've been an athlete since I was 3. I started T-ball at 3. I played college basketball, right? I have been an athlete, and I competed in CrossFit after that. I have multiple certifications in multiple different lifting, right? Like, you're coming for the wrong person. Don't tell me to eat less and work out more. Bitch, I know there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't be shitting my pants.
Disorder.
Correct, right? Like, if you can figure out how to approach it in a way that makes people feel like they can hear you, not because you're telling them to eat different or eat less, but because the things that you eat are directly affecting your mental health, Bob's your uncle.
And I think that the beginning of that, to her point, which is absolutely mind-blowing, aha moment, really great. That's exciting. So amazing. And even making me think about all kinds of stuff. I think in Caitlin, you just have to be able to trust the messaging, the mission, right? The website. That's all. And if it feels like a safe place, they don't need to know why it feels like a safe place. But
I don't like safe place. I like empowered.
You don't like safe place.
I like empowered because I don't know what makes somebody feel safe.
Yeah.
I want you to feel empowered to make a decision that's of your best interest.
But
right?
So you don't know what makes different people feel safe, but don't you want, I don't know if this is, I'm going to say it because it's what I'm thinking. Don't you want if you're to Everett's point, trying to create a whole new, almost like creating a new category in a brand, right? Like you're creating a new category of a type of therapy. Don't you want everyone to feel safe? Meaning whatever makes them feel safe in your presence with your business.
You can't do that. You can't do that for everyone. You can help people feel seen in your messaging.
Yep.
And when you feel seen, you immediately feel empowered. You feel in your body, you feel safe. Right?
Yep. Okay.
I would never go to a boudoir photographer who showed only thin white bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With long hair and abs.
Right.
I would never fucking do that.
Yeah.
I would go to somebody who shows bodies that represent me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to a therapist who, when they talk about food, there's no morality. There's no good. There's no bad. There's no, you should do this, but not this. There's no scarcity mindset. It's a mindset of abundance, right? Yeah. There's no rules. I'm looking for somebody like that because that makes me feel safe. It's somebody who I'm attracted to and I know I can be empowered there. Yeah. But I'm not catering to somebody's safe space because everyone's safe space is so different. Sure. And if I claim it to be a safe space, all you're saying is this is my safe space that I want you to feel seen in. Right? Because the only person that you can really qualify that safe space for is yourself because you created it. But I can't tell you, Jess, you're going to feel safe here. Right? Like I feel super safe talking about sex. That's not a safe space for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like, I want you to feel like you've created an empowered space for somebody to make really, really good fucking decisions about their body based on the education that you have and the education that you're spreading. The way that you create that quote unquote safe space for somebody is when they can actually resonate with your story and your messaging and they can see themselves in your branding. Does that make sense? I don't know. I just went on a tangent.
Season 2, baby.
Stop. Okay, we're done.
It's like, welcome season 2.
Caitlin for dropping your
Oh, no, but I could talk forever about that because I just really think you have the secret sauce. You got the juice, right? Like, you've got the good, you're coming from a place of, you've seen how much harm can be done by the alternative.
Yeah.
And you want to create a place that allows people to do what is right in their body, but in a very holistic, beautiful, delicious way.
But at the same time, I feel like she's really prideful about, like, don't try to shame me. I have a master's degree, right? Yes. Don't tell me this is hippie woo woo. This is actually science-based.
I had to take a statistics class, okay?
I took a
I'm not a fucking coach. I have a master's and a goddamn
with your coaches
plaque on my wall. What do you have, right? Like, look, no shame to coaches. That wasn't a knock. We have coaches on this podcast, but you know what I mean? I hear you. I hear you. Well, I'm proud of you. This is so cool.
Thanks, guys. I feel really validated. So thank you. Because I'm always like, I have all these thoughts swirling around in my head. And I'm like, would this make sense to other people? You know, like, would other people click with this? This is
entrepreneurship. This is creation. Yeah. This is when you realize that there is something missing and you create a product, a thing, a service. Mm-hmm. This is how you start stuff, because you don't want to just create another therapy room. It's like, how is your therapy going to be unique? How are you going to elevate it? And what do you want to take it to that, like, what do you want to do that doesn't exist? Yeah. That is step one of like successful entrepreneurship, because what's missing and how can you make something that fits that so many people are looking for? And I think
absolutely,
I don't think it's how do I find the people for you right now? Even though, like, the networking thing is a good idea. I think step one is, to Caitlin's point, like, play back all of that and be like, I need to create my thing that's missing in the space.
Yeah. The people will come
first.
The people will come.
Yeah.
I was listening to a book, and then Nancy actually kind of echoed it, but we were talking about how you have to build it from a place that feels so fucking good to you.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter if anybody shows up or not.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually. You have to build the house that you want to live in and look around and be so fucking proud of. And if people walk into your house, that's cool. And if they don't, you're so endlessly proud of the product that you've built that it doesn't matter. You don't need external validation to justify why you did it, right? That in and of itself is the secret sauce to why people are successful.
Yes.
Is because they don't give a fuck about what anybody else has to say. They built something that they were proud of. And when people showed up, they were like, hey, thanks for being here. This is my
Yeah.
home that I spent
Yeah.
a decade building. I'm so glad you like the craftsmanship. I do too.
And the universe knows the first second that you're questioning yourself. When
Yeah.
you're like, why isn't anyone coming? What is this weird? I don't know, but do the right thing. No,
That means
you need to find a
jump
friend
further.
that
Yeah.
slaps you in front of the head and is like, no, you are the brand. You are the person. You are the thing, right?
Jess, that sounds familiar.
I was just waiting for you to jump in there. So, I mean, there's
We
so
had
many
to do
times
this with her.
Caitlin
That's
has
why.
just shook me like a doll. Like, you know, don't
Listen.
question it.
Yes,
Yeah.
just
Do
do
the
it.
thing. And
Yeah.
until I really believed in myself, and I always believed in the thing, but like there was always like, well, maybe, right? And then it's like, no, just go forward with what your gut is saying.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how many people are following and how many people are buying right now. Keep doing the thing that your gut is like, this is your calling,
Yeah.
and it will come.
It will. I promise. It will. It will.
But
And
this
I have a really good friend who is getting into the therapy world who you need an intern. I got a girl. Ale is amazing.
yeah.
Ale listens to our thing every fucking week. She's like, if you ever talk to somebody that is in this vein, you ever need somebody,
Oh, yeah,
look,
she
there
I
you
got
go.
a girl,
Connect us.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like, I
Yeah.
definitely think there is a shit ton of space here for you. And
Yes.
the second you build it, it will come.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Building
It's
it.
good. Yeah. Look,
And
you're just
also,
Stop chasing like the shiny ball of like, maybe
No,
we should
stop
do this,
chasing
maybe
the
we
ball.
should do that.
No, I know.
No, just do this.
One.
Yeah.
Pick one.
but don't get it twisted. We both are still in that space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You never
No.
get out of that space.
Yeah.
It's just you have bad days. You don't have bad like you like, and you find the right people to call and be like to lose all your shit, so that when you go back into the thing that you were meant to do, you're doing the thing and not bringing any of that because you have a friend that you're like, bleh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be that person. Caitlin's
Yeah.
happy to be that person.
So true.
Both of us are happy to be that person for you.
And
Like,
I think
we're here for it.
If people are still listening to the podcast, because as we are almost done, I hope that they're still listening this much through, and you really believe in Everett, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to comment
Yes.
and ask her questions or reach
Yeah.
out to her directly,
Yes.
which segues right into how can people
How
find
do
you?
people find you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know thank you again, Jess, for making me get social media in the year 2023. Everett
That's funny.
Wool Therapy. And then now, of course, I realize that as I say my name out loud, no one knows how to spell it. So it's Everett, EVERETTUHL Therapy on Instagram and TikTok. And that's also my website, everettwooltherapy.com.
I just spilled
Great.
my water.
Oh, you spilled your water?
Sorry.
Oh,
Say
no.
your website
no.
one more time. My whole water just knocked over on my couch. Is it everettwool.com?
Everett
Or
Wool
Everett Wool
Therapy.
Therapy?
Yeah.
Everett Wool Therapy.
Look,
Yeah.
I just wanted you to say it again. That was what the universe was prompting me right there. Good night. Awesome. So make sure to go follow her on all of her social media. Make sure to follow us.
Yes.
If you like what you hear, like and subscribe to our page. You can find us on YouTube. You can see the uncut version and our behind the scenes. All of that is there. And we are at What the Body Pod on IG. So send us any information that you might have. And we have absolutely loved having you on with us today.
Thank you so much.
Happy
guys.
season 2.
Woo.
One more time.